We're live. We're live, guys. Okay. Hi. So I'm just warming up my tea and coffee. It's defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. Welcome. It is around 2:44 p.m. in the UK. I'm in southwest Bristol. I've just made a coffee with my wife's blending machine that she bought me for Christmas. Which does seem pretty cool. Pretty cool. Just gonna add a bit more milk to it. So this blending machine, it froths up the milk. Of course I like. And I've got myself a cup of tea. So I'm on it. Now we're gonna watch a documentary together, guys. Oh yes, that's nice. Okay. Oops. Right, okay. Need to fix that. Let's just put that here. Okay. All that machine's frothing up nicely. I'm gonna put a bit of honey in my tea. So I've got a good hour. I'm not in a rush. I'm just taking it easy. My wife's gone to the cinema with the kids and her friend. So it gives me a little while. I've just been for a run. I've done my weightlifting. And I've gone for a walk as well. So I've had a couple of hours out. Wow, this machine that my wife bought me is so good. So good. Right, let me just taste it. My wife bought me a coffee making thing. Wow! And what it does, it's a bit of a miracle. It doesn't just boil the milk, it also blends the butter. I'm really impressed with it, actually. So, okay, should I show you it? I did try and show you on the last live stream, but then it all went wrong, so you missed out. Let me show you it, guys. Hi, defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. Now look what my wife bought me. I know I showed you this on the last one, but it went wrong. So look, Pro Breeze. So the first setting, the first button froths you the milk. Look, shall I show you? Now the other setting actually whisks and blends and creams the butter into the water and the coffee. So I put the coffee, the milk, the butter, the hot water. Actually, cold water would have been fine. And then this whisks it and blends it, makes it all creamy. Yeah, I love it. So all I have to do to make my coffee now, instead of using the machine, the whisker, is put butter, coffee, milk, water in, put the lid on, press go, and it gives me that. Let me show you. Look how nice that looks. I put a tiny bit of honey in as well, and it tastes really good. Wow. Okay, so things are calming down now. Let me get my little. Things are definitely slowing down now. We've had our little Christmas panic, and the house is all tidy. You know, the presents are all tidy. So we're in that sort of how can I say it? Get ready for New Year's Eve. Obviously, you guys know I'm dressing up for the 68 comeback special as Elvis. I'm wearing a black leather jacket, black leather trousers. I don't normally drink, but I will have a drink that night. I only drink 3 times a year, maybe. So So part of what we do, guys, at the moment, this is a new thing I've been doing for about a week. We're finding old vintage clips. I'll play the most recent one that I found. And I'm posting them. But what I'm doing, I'm not just posting them, I'm also reviewing them. So the one, let me just find it. The one that we watched this morning was called, let's have a look. Let's have a look. The one we watched this morning was called Inside Graceland Documentary 1982, and it was an hour long. So we've done the last live stream was that, and then we reviewed it. We reviewed it together, we watched it together, and then I posted it on my video channel. So you get 2 goes of it. So there's one that I've just uploaded, which you've probably watched before. It is Vernon Presley talks about moving Elvis Presley's body to Graceland. It's only a few minutes long, so I'm going to play that for you guys. But we are going to watch a documentary together again, a different one. So we'll talk about that in a second. Hi all. I don't know how long I will stay. I've got a bug. Just wanted to say hello. Hi Karen. You know we always miss you. Oh, yeah, TRK. Welcome. TRK. I got your comment on YouTube. Thank you. Hi Tonya. So hi Deborah. I think Tony will be around soon. I've just been chatting with Tony about the carnivore diet. Of course, any of you want any advice on the carnivore or the keto diet, guys, just ask away. Ask away. Right. So I have messaged everyone. I'm not expecting loads of people on because it's Christmas. So a lot of you are very busy. The whole family is out. My daughter and my sons are upstairs. So we got our coffee, a nice butter coffee. I use butter. I blend it because it stops me feeling hungry. Okay, right. I just want to top it up, and then we're going to start business. So if anyone wants to miss the boring bit, just skip forward the first 5 minutes. Yeah, guys. So if you're just waking up in America, good morning. I don't know what time it is where you guys are. Obviously it's gone. The time here is nearly 3 o'clock. All right, yeah. Okay, we're done. We're done. Enough of that. My wife said I got to keep it clean. And I will. Do as I'm told. But I'm going to play you. I'm going to play you guys. I'm faffing about a bit, aren't I? I'm faffing as you. I always faff. The first 10-15 minutes, I always faff. So here's my coffee from my new machine. Got Elvis in the background, of course. Right, so this is just, let's have a look. So this is the one we posted. I'm going to play this little short one first. I'm going to play the short one first, but then we're going to do the main documentary. Okay, let's just... Right, obviously I'm trying to get a balancing act here on where to stand this stand, but let's go.
Graceland will open to the public Sunday morning at 9 when visitors will be allowed to view the grave sites of Elvis and his mother Gladys. The two are buried in Meditation Garden on the Graceland grounds where Elvis's father Vernon says his son would come to be by himself and think.
It was more out of the way, away from the house. You know? I thought it was a beautiful place. He always liked this place down here, around the pool and this fountain area. So that's one of the reasons why I picked this place here.
And how does it make the family feel now to have Elvis and his mother?
Well, I think Nobody's happy about it. You know, I think we're more at ease about it now since we got them here. And hopefully that it'll work out real good, you know.
In light of an attempt to steal Presley's body from Forest Hill Cemetery, security will be tight.
Well, we have 24-hour-a-day physical security. We have closed circuit television, both regular and infrared night vision cameras up here, not only on the gravesite down here, but on the entire ground area.
No vehicles will be allowed on the grounds, and the grave sites, which will be open from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday, will be closed on Mondays for groundskeeping and maintenance. The epitaph on Elvis's grave marker is written by Vernon. He says, "He was a precious gift from God we cherished and loved dearly. He had a God-given talent that he shared with the world. He was admired for his kind feelings for his fellow man. He became a living legend in his own time. God saw that he needed some rest and called him home to be with him. I thank God that he gave us you as our son." Gates to Graceland will open to the public Sunday morning.
So that just gives you an idea of what we're doing at the moment. I'm trying to find a way where we can balance the camera. Okay, which is not easy. So we are finding these clips and then we are posting them, but we're reviewing them first. I'm sure many of you know that Elvis was moved to the meditation garden. So that was just a little interview from Vernon, sort of discussing it a bit. So did someone say, right, Pat, it's called the Pro Breeze. Pro Breeze. I think it's rubbed out a bit. Let's have a look. Yeah, P-R-O-B-R-E-E-Z-E. Gets a lid on it. If you take the lid off, you look inside, it's got a blender in there, like a little, that warms up and spins round. So the one setting is it froths the milk within a minute. The third setting that blends everything, so melts the butter, whisks everything, takes about 2.5 minutes. So it's really good. You just put it in, press go, and then come back, it's ready to drink. I tend to top mine up with a bit of hot water. So I definitely recommend it. And it sits on a little base. It has a little base that it sits on, like a bit like a kettle. Yeah, really good. Highly recommend it. Yeah, we could start a selling channel. Should we start selling things? Okay, so I'm going to start playing this documentary. What we will do, we will review it. It's about, I think it's about 50 minutes long. We're going to review it every 5 minutes, and then I'll upload the whole thing, yeah, to our video channel as well. So let me just find it, and we'll just chat as we're playing it. We'll chat now, guys. There's going to be a few things in this documentary you're not going to like. It mentions the drugs, it mentions addiction, things like that. I know you guys don't like talking about these things, but what we're doing, we're reviewing these documentaries. Yeah, it's not all bad. There's some good stuff in there as well. It's quite an interesting documentary. It is vintage. It is a vintage documentary. So let's see if we can find it. Now, I haven't watched it properly. I've watched it a bit. Let's have a look. So let's get the right one. I found some good ones, actually. I've been looking. I found some pretty good ones. Let's get the right one. Things are so many. All right, I remember now. Right. So this is mainly Charlie Hodge, with some different interviews. It's called The Elvis I Knew, Charlie Hodge documentary. A lot of you have probably already watched it. I'm trying to see, it doesn't have a year here. So let's just watch it together and just see how it goes, guys. See how it goes. We'll stop every now and then, have a chat about it. Finola, you're welcome. It's, you know, it's all there on YouTube. If you hunt around, you can find these little gems hidden away. But I just say to you guys, if there's going to be a few bits in it that can be a bit upsetting. So let's just see how it goes. Yeah. Right. Let's just see where we're going to play. Okay. Let's just relax and watch it.
Something special in my life, and it would have to do with entertainment, probably.
Well, obviously, it's not very loud, guys.
So what could a little kid from Decatur, Alabama possibly do that would matter to the world? One night, backstage in Memphis, I would find out. Elvis walked over to me, and my life was changed forever.
I'm Larry D. here in the Great Smoky Mountains. With me, a legend in his own time, Charlie Hodge. Charlie, you spent over 17 years of your life with one of the true legends of the 20th century. At all of Elvis's homes, there was always one bedroom. It was Charlie's bedroom. You performed with him on stage. You were in many of his movies. You were his vocal coach at one time and one of the best friends of his entire lifetime. You wrote a book, Me and Elvis, which today is a bestseller. And now this video.
There's been a lot of things said about Elvis all these years, and a good bit of that made up by the press. Elvis fans all over the world have followed his life and death. And for a long time, I felt the real story should be told from someone who was there, you know, by his side. And I especially wanted Lisa Marie to know the truth about his dad. I wanted to share some of the pictures and home movies most people have never seen before. Some clips of the fun times we had, the army, the music, the shows, personal family times, you know, the Elvis I knew. First of all...
So let me just pause it. So we're going to chop in and talk every now and then. Now, it's pretty general knowledge that Charlie seems to be the one of all of the Memphis Mafia that has been pretty good to Elvis, pretty loyal. He doesn't seem to have said loads of negative, horrible things about him. He speaks very well of him. He also is very candid about Elvis's chronic health problems. He talks about how Elvis was affected by these health problems and what different prescribed medications he needed for each different problem that he had. And there were many. I think many people don't realize just how unwell Elvis was. I think it was kept a bit of a secret at the time. You know, I don't think Elvis confided in many people the different problems he was having with his health. He was a proud man. So many of the people that saw that Elvis was taking a lot of medication didn't realize he actually needed many of the pills he took. He actually did need.
Very intelligent man. He knew where he was going, and he knew how much he had to learn. He even realized after a time how big he was around the world. And he always had a plan and was in control. The staff had a logo we used on our jackets and everything, TCB. That meant taking care of business. That's what we did. That's what we wanted to do for Elvis. The entourage Elvis kept around him was made up of family members and friends. And I began to realize how important family was to Elvis when we were in the Army. I was singing with the Foggy River Boys in 1958 when I was drafted. After that first meeting backstage in Memphis, I would see Elvis again at Fort Hood. We both arrived for basic training about the same time. He remembered me, and we saw each other from time to time. Elvis's mother was very ill that summer, so the Army gave him some time to go home and see her. She died suddenly while he was there. When Elvis got back, he was numb with grief. And before we knew it,
We were on a troop train headed for the port to ship out. We became friends on this trip.
Let me just pause it.
This time I started.
So this is quite an interesting part. I actually don't think Elvis for a second thought his mum was going to die. I don't think it. I think obviously he'd been at basic training. He knew she wasn't well, but there's no way he thought she was going to die. So a massive, massive shock and life-changing moment for Elvis. And Charlie Hodge was there for him because Elvis would cry himself to sleep. And Charlie Hodge would try and make him laugh, try and cheer him up, to try and take his mind off this horrific loss, the biggest loss in Elvis's life at such a young age.
I played the rest of my time with Elvis over the years. We were aboard ship, and Elvis had asked that I be assigned to the area where he'd put. They put Elvis up with the NCOs, the sergeants and everything, because all the soldiers wanted to get an autograph of Elvis and pictures made with him and everything, and the only way you could get an arrest was to put him with the sergeants. So he didn't know anybody up there, and he asked that I be put up there with him. And of course, it had only been a short time before that Elvis had lost his mother. And daytime was fine. We were going around the ship. We were playing with the accordion band and everything. And then at night, after we went to bed, I could hear Elvis breathing in his bunk. And I would get down and I'd start telling him jokes and stories until he would laugh, until finally he was just getting exhausted and he was tired and he could just go to sleep. And I thought, well, I didn't realize that what I began there wouldn't be just a trip across the ocean. It'd be a trip around the world with my main man, Elvis.
So obviously, we're doing a review, so I am going to keep chopping in. YouTube will expect me to do a review and be involved in this video that we're sort of breaking down together. That was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, a very beautiful friendship. Obviously, Charlie Hodge was a talented man in his own right. Yeah, I think he was in a quartet. He gave Elvis singing coaching lessons. I think Elvis, when he was getting ready for the '68 comeback special and for going on to Vegas, that they were up all night. Charlie Hodge giving Elvis, trying to get Elvis back into his old self. Yeah, because Elvis was nervous and worried about his comebacks. So I think Charlie Hodge made a big difference.
If there was anybody that was ever a friend and to Elvis Presley, it was Charlie Hodge.
I was fit John my shoes in Barracks one day, and somebody came over from the first sergeant's office and said I had a phone call. Went over there and Lamar asked me, could I get a 15-day leave? Elvis wanted to go to Paris for 15 days. So I got permission, man, and got in touch with Elvis. We went 3 days in Munich, Germany, and then 10 days in Paris. So we got there, man, and the first thing we got there, we were exhausted. It's early in the morning, and we're up on a hill overlooking Paris. These people wanted to see the sunrise in Paris, and we were dying to go to sleep. So when we started doing like all the tours, we were catching the show at the Lido di Paris, the Moulin Rouge. We tried to be like regular tourists and walk up down the Champs-Elysees, but they said, Elvis, you can walk around in Paris because they don't do stars like they do stars any place else. They leave you alone. And we said, good. We went for a walk on the Champs-Elysees, and you'd have thought France de Gaulle had come, Charles de Gaulle had come there, whatever his name was. And because the people hit us, and we had to find our way to a movie theater, buy a ticket, and go in. And we called our driver that had the limousine. He come around and met us at the theater. We went straight through the theater, got the limousine and left. So we didn't try that anymore. But we'd go shopping at different little places and catch the shows, and it became a daily. I remember one time we were riding up the Champs-Elysees between the Arc of Triumph and the Eiffel Tower. And Rex Mansfield and Elvis and I started singing a trio of some number. And we just kept singing the same song over and over again. And we're just going from one end of the street to the other one. And finally, you know, we said, Lamar, get out and go cancel the show. We were going to the Lido show at night, so we had Lamar go in and cancel it because it was more important. We were enjoying ourselves singing, just riding up and down there from the Champs-Élysées to the Eiffel Tower, down the Champs-Élysées, the Eiffel Tower, between the Arc of Triumph, you know. We just rode and sang and sang. And then the girls from the Lido show would come over and see us. And I remember one night they called, the theater called and said, could you have the girls come over? And we said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, we really would like to start the show. They'd been there all night.
That's
I always
funny.
loved to watch the movies on the post. And he actually studied the actors. You know, he noticed that actors with dark hair lasted longer. His hair was naturally light, but after his first movie, Love Me Tender, he had it dyed black.
It's funny because I heard that he dyed his hair black because he liked Tony Curtis. Is that true? Does anyone know who Elvis modeled himself on? Let's keep going.
I think it was a couple of months, maybe 6 weeks or so before we left Germany. We were having a little party at Elvis's house there at 14 Goethestrasse. I'll always remember that. And a guy from the Air Force that was a friend of ours brought this young lady over, and it was Priscilla. She was 14 years old at the time. And Elvis, I think, was just dumbfounded. I mean, he didn't hardly speak to anyone else the whole evening. He was just talking to her. And when she left that evening, he called me over and he said, Charlie, did you see the structure of her face?
Yeah,
It's
I thought
almost
that
like
was sense.
everything I've ever looked for in a woman. So I think he decided that night that Priscilla was going to be his wife. It was a pretty good plan because it worked out.
Did it? I don't think
Elvis
so.
was getting ready to record his first album after getting back, and he asked me to go along to Nashville. When I asked him what I would do while he was busy recording, he said, well, we could sing All We'll Be Home Again like we did on the ship. That would be the first full duet I've ever put on an album. We had harmonized our way through the Army. We were
That's
on our way
interesting,
to
Finola.
Nashville and to another step in our relationship as musicians. From that time, for well over a decade, life was a series of phenomenal events. Elvis interrupted the recording session to go to Miami to appear live with Frank Sinatra. He'd been out of the Army only about a month. After Nashville, we would embark on an incredible journey to California by train to do a movie. Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, had reserved 2 railroad cars for Elvis and all the guys. One was a sleeping car and the other was a private dining car. But you can picture this scene. All along the tracks, at every little train station and crossroads, people stood to see and wave as Elvis and the train went by. Even though the train didn't stop there, they knew Elvis was on that train, much like the political campaigns years ago. Elvis was very quiet whenever he looked out. As I look back over my life, I don't think anything that happened to me was by chance. From 1961, I guess it was, to 1966, I used to get tired of sitting around the studio when they were doing movies because you go there, you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't do anything till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you go home and take a break. But so I talked to Elvis about me going out and working in some nightclubs with Jimmy Wakely. And because I'd known Wakely on the old Ozark Jubilee and I'd sung some with him. And so Elvis said, all right. And so I would go out and work these tours in Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, and Reno with Wakely, and then come back in and do like the soundtrack for a movie thing with Elvis, and then we'd go somewhere else with Wakely. I remember one time we came in, and I walked in through the gate, and I said, and Elvis and them were loading up the bus. I said, have a heart, I just got off the road. And Elvis said, shut up, load your stuff, and let's go. So we loaded up. And Elvis had just gotten this. It was a 1963 Dodge mobile home. And we always followed it behind with a station wagon pulling a trailer with all our clothes in it, so it wouldn't be so much stuff on the bus.
So kind of tell me, what was it really like to travel on the road with Elvis?
I know we'd drive sometimes, and we'd stop and we'd spend the day in a hotel because we'd drive all night long. Then get up that night, and sometimes Elvis would drive 100 miles and say, let's check back in another hotel. I don't feel like that. And we'd stop on the side of the road, we'd throw footballs, we'd do everything. But what Elvis was, it was really,
tell you what, guys,
really to get back home.
I'll tell you what, I would have loved to have been on that bus. I would have loved it. I mean, I heard that Elvis, he wanted to drive to the movie sets, didn't want to fly, he couldn't wait to get back home. And the bus, I think he spent a fortune on it. It had it converted. And could you imagine the fun those guys had on that bus? The best camping trip ever.
So you have everybody together and we could all go home together. I remember one time we was coming through Arkansas and we was listening to George Klein on WHPQ radio. And he played a song by Tom Jones called "A Green, Green Grass of Home." And that's the first time we had heard that. We had been out in Hollywood, I think, for 3 movies in a row. So we hadn't been home in probably 9 months, you know. And we listened to that, and every one of us started tearing up a little bit. And so Elvis pulled over to the next phone booth. He saw us, said, "Joe, call George, tell him to play that song again." So Joe called George. He played it again. Elvis stopped at the next phone booth to call him, tell him to play it again. And this went all the way from over there in West Memphis, Arkansas, well, the other side of West Memphis, actually, all the way through Memphis. So we got home. He was calling. Every time we run in the phone booth, call George, tell him to play that song again. And George would announce on radio, he'd say, "The King and the boys are on the way in, boys and girls," you know, and tell about it. So he was giving them a running description of us coming in and listening to Tom Jones. And then Tom Jones later became a very close friend with us. Very close.
So we've done quite a lot of videos here with Tom Jones and Elvis. Some little. I wonder if any of the little, if I can get the little short up just to give you an idea. But I'm a big Tom Jones fan. They hit it off, didn't they, guys? They hit it off, and I know how they met as well. The very first time they met, I know the story. That Elvis just walked up to him singing that song. What was the song called? Let me just see if it comes up. They were both amazing, weren't they? Tom Jones and Elvis, both amazing. Let's see if my little short comes up. Here's a little. Let's just play this.
I think the first time you went was it to do a TV show? 1967 or something. 65. And is that when you met Elvis for the first time?
Hang on, guys.
I was there. And don't try and compete. So I got there, and you know, it was wonderful. We were staying in the Gene Autry Hotel, you know, on Sunset Strip at the time. And Gene Autry was there. I saw him standing there, you know. God, you know, this is unbelievable. My first year in show business. And then I had to go to Paramount Studios for a song for something. And they said, Elvis Presley is going to be there tomorrow, and he would like to meet you. I thought Elvis Presley wants to meet me. It was unbelievable. And I went there and you know, to go and see about the song. And they said, Elvis is filming. And, you know, once they stop the filming, you go in. So I did, and then they closed the doors again, and I'm standing in the back there with the Memphis Mafia, these guys that work for him, and he's in this little mock helicopter with this girl, and they did the scene, you know, and I'm like, look at my God, it's Elvis Presley, and then they said, okay, cut, and he looked across and went, you know, and I was like, you know, looking at these fellas who will be, they said, Elvis is waving at you, don't wave back. You know, so anyway, so he gets out of this helicopter and he starts walking towards me. Well, I had a single record out at the moment. It was my third single called With These Hands. It was a ballad. It was a beautiful song. And Elvis is walking towards me going, with these hands, oh my God, I will cling to you. Right? And he's going, and I thought, my God, if the boys back home could see me now, you know. It was unbelievable.
Love it. I mean, I've seen that different versions of Tom saying that. I love Tom Jones. He's amazing. Let's keep going, guys.
We were down in the den. I think we were playing records and listening to new demos for an album Elvis was going to do. And Charlie came in. I didn't realize he was so short. And I was glad to see him because that made me, I used to be the shortest guy in the group, and along comes Charlie, and he's the shortest guy. So we were very glad to see Charlie Hodge, but Elvis said, George, this is Charlie Hodge. I met him in the Army. He used to be the Fog River Boys. I said, yeah, I remember you. You used to come out with that coat case, and we all laughed. And Charlie said he'd heard Elvis talk about me quite a bit. So you're the disc jockey from Memphis, a good friend of Elvis. I said, yeah. And Charlie and I kind of hit it off pretty good.
Elvis always would dress for all occasions and everything. We had driving across country. We had jumpsuits with our name on it.
He had a great time with the truckers, didn't he?
Elvis drive the bus going across, and these truckers would recognize him going across, and they'd blow them big air horns, and Elvis would blow his horn, man, and then he'd race them across country. Of course, it wasn't a race, but he had fun. He was playing with the truckers, you know. He had his own truck, customized, naturally. But he dressed special always. Elvis was proud of who he was and never wore a disguise that I know of at all. And he would always dress the way Elvis was supposed to look. So he was dressing for the fans every day. A lot of pride. Yeah, a lot of pride in what he had done, what he had accomplished, and who he was. And Elvis could dress. Nobody else would look that good in those clothes, but he would look fantastic. You know, it's funny. When we'd leave Los Angeles, going to Hollywood, or coming to Memphis, and we'd leave, and nobody'd know what time we left. But somehow, when we got to Graceland, even if we flew, it's not going bus. If we left tonight, caught a plane, and it's midnight here, and 6 o'clock in the morning we're landing in Memphis, there'd be a crowd there waiting. Somehow the fans knew we had left, and they passed the word to each other. The same thing, we'd go to L.A. There'd be nobody around the house in L.A. We'd leave late at night on a plane, go to L.A., get to the house, crowd of people standing out there when we got there. They kept in touch with, they had their own underground.
They knew where you were.
They knew where we were, yeah. When we'd get into a town, we'd be on tour, and we'd get off the plane. Sometimes they'd have 2 or 3 Cadillac limousines there, and Elvis would get in one, and Dr. Nicopoulos and myself would get in another one, and somebody else another one. Then we always had the bus for everybody else. And if there were any fans outside the airfield there when we went out, they didn't know which one to follow, because Elvis could be in the front one, he could be in the middle one, he could be in the back one, unless you could really get a good look at him. And the way those cars were moving, because the police were always the greatest anywhere we went. They gave us police escort. So when we left the place, we was already doing 30 or 40 miles an hour when we hit the highway, you know. But Elvis, we did that every so often. You know, Elvis would be in one car. I'd be in another car with Dr. Nicopoulos. And then you couldn't tell. It might not be anybody in those cars. Elvis might have been on the bus also with the rest of the guys. In fact, I remember one time when we were playing here in Tennessee, and we had a limousine to take us to the concert, and there's so many people outside the motel, we thought they was going to turn over the car. And from then on, for the next 2 nights we did concerts, we rode in the bus because we figured they couldn't turn that over. The fans would get excited, though. Sure. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about the secret mission you had in regards to Elvis's wedding.
When Elvis decided to get married, it was like Mission Impossible, man. Very few people knew what was going on.
This is interesting, guys.
Joe Esposito knew, and I knew, and the Colonel, of course, knew, because Colonel set it all up. And all the guys thought I was driving Colonel down to Palm Springs, because that was one of my normal jobs, was drive him to Palm Springs, go down Monday morning, pick him up, and drive him back. But what we were doing during this whole period of time is we was heading, going to Palm Springs, but see, just before you get to Palm Springs, you turn left and go to Vegas. So we were going to Vegas, and the Colonel was setting up Elvis's wedding. And we couldn't even talk to each other about it. Everything had to be kept, each person doing what they're doing. Nobody else knows what the other person's doing. And so this went on until time for Elvis to get married. And then we left the house in the cars, drove to the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, drove downstairs, went up and stayed in one of the rooms for 2 hours. Then after we got early in the morning, you could see any cars where we went down and got the cars and drove the rest of the way to Palm Springs. Then got up the next morning, everybody loaded in the planes and went to Las Vegas, where there's all the news media down there ready to grab it, get pictures of Elvis's wedding. Then all of a sudden we're in Las Vegas. And the media, Colonel kept it so it wasn't like a circus. And Elvis and Priscilla got married, and then they came to the wedding breakfast. And that's where the media got to see them for the first time, that they were now man and wife. But the Colonel handled that so there would be no circus. His marriage could have some elegance about it, you know, some privacy. And it was just beautiful.
Charlie, tell me, after Elvis and Priscilla got married, the close-knit family you all were, how did your own personal lives change, whether at Graceland or in California, wherever?
I think my favorite time of living with Elvis, where it was more like a family, was when Elvis and Priscilla got married. Priscilla took over the running of the household, you know, and planning the meals and everything. And we ate dinner every evening in the dining room, like at Graceland and also at the house in L.A. And Priscilla would sit at a certain place, Patsy and Gigi at another place, and me at another place. And we'd have a meal every evening. It was like a family. Because, and all the guys that used to come there, Priscilla told them, I remember, said,
let me just pause that. Yeah, so obviously, unfortunately, you can tell that Charlie is quite fond of Priscilla. Yeah, I'm guessing they were quite close, but the standout thing to me is he talks about how Priscilla took over the running of the house. How you can tell that he thought that the wedding was beautiful. Yeah, the secrets, it was done secretly by the Colonel. Colonel completely organized it. But then, so we hear all that. We hear Charlie Hodge talking very fondly about the marriage and about Priscilla. He even says it all worked out. But it didn't all work out, did it? It didn't all work out. If I was sat with Charlie Hodge now, and I like Charlie Hodge, yeah, I would say to him, why do you think it all worked out? Surely you must have known that she was unfaithful with Steve Peck, the dance instructor, a few months after Lisa Marie was born, 10 months after the wedding. Did he know? Was it kept a secret? This is what I'm asking you guys here at Team Elvis. There's 34 of you watching. Welcome to Team Elvis. Welcome to Defending Elvis. How many of you here think Charlie did not know, or that he did know? Did Charlie know that Priscilla, after this so-called lovely wedding, was unfaithful so soon after the birth of Lisa Marie? So how many of you think that Charlie did know or did not know?
But you eat what we have. You don't come in here and place an order like it's a short order cut. So this is a home, not a short order restaurant. And she began to plan. It felt like home. You know, it's just, yeah. There was always one room that was Charlie's room. And she just fixed this and that's with my favorite colors and everything, you know. And we'd have dinner there in the evenings, and Joe and Joni would come up and join us. You know, Joe Esposito and his wife Joni. Sometimes Colonel Parker and Tom Diskin, his aide, would come up and have dinner with us, and it was like a family, you know, and it felt good. I missed it when their marriage was over.
Right, he's just about to say, I missed it when their marriage was over. Right now, I think we have to discuss this just a little bit. So I can tell that Charlie Hodge liked Priscilla. I can also tell that he was all for the marriage of Elvis and Priscilla. And obviously Lisa being born. Yeah. Now, it's complicated, guys, because I'm not sure when this was made, but it's pretty obvious Priscilla is in charge of Gracelands, yeah, when this is made. Now, it's in everyone's interest to keep Priscilla happy. So you think about it. She is on the throne of Gracelands. She has the keys to the money, the keys to the vault for the money. So I think that all of these guys, unfortunately, had to be careful with these kind of documentaries. I would say that documentary, Priscilla may have had to give permission for this documentary. Yeah. Do any of you think that Priscilla gave permission for this documentary? Because I very much see here, even I like Charlie Hodge, it's obvious he was a true friend to Elvis. But there's very much here that he's being careful how he talks about Priscilla, how he portrays the marriage. He definitely doesn't mention the unfaithfulness. You actually get the feeling that he didn't know. You get the feeling that he didn't know because he's been so sincere about Priscilla and the marriage. And he now goes on to say that he missed it. He was sad that they broke up. So remember, the cash that these men received went through Priscilla. Everything that concerned Elvis, so whether it be books, magazines, documentaries, it all went through Priscilla. She was the boss. She was the head. So I'm a little bit disappointed with this part of the interview because it's not being completely honest. We know that she was unfaithful. We know it. Just after Lisa Marie was born, we know that the marriage was on the rocks. She very quickly moves on to Mike Stone, the karate instructor, and has an affair with him. So this whole section of this documentary, whatever you want to call it, to me is a bit fake. And I'm a bit disappointed that I have to say that because I like Charlie Hodge. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let me play it when he now moves on to say he was unhappy that they broke up. Yeah.
Everything, you know. And we'd have dinner there in the evenings, and Joe and Joni would come up and join us. You know, Joe Esposito and his wife Joni. Sometimes Colonel Parker and Tom Diskin, his aide, would come up and have dinner with us, and it was like a family, you know, and it felt good. I missed it when their marriage was over. I really missed it.
See that?
Yeah, Charlie lived in Graceland, and I think that
he missed it when the marriage was over.
Because Elvis, truth be known, Elvis really.
I have to say one more thing. I love George Klein. We're going to watch his section of this live stream review, yeah. But he says, I missed it when the marriage was over. But think about it, guys. They got engaged in December 1966. Then they were married May the 1st, 1967. Yeah? Now, Lisa Marie was born 1st of February 1968. Within 8 weeks, Priscilla was unfaithful. Yeah? So around March 68. So the marriage, you work it out the months, guys. The marriage was only around 10 months long. So when Charlie Hodge says, oh, I missed it when the marriage was over. What marriage? What marriage? Because once Priscilla was caught being unfaithful, just after Lisa Marie was born, there was no marriage. There was no marriage. The whole thing was fake. It was broken. I know that Elvis tried to make things work. He did a second honeymoon. He went on trips. He went to the JC Awards. He visited Tom Jones. He visited Muhammad Ali. He did lots of things. They went on holidays, but it was over. And then don't forget, by 1971, Priscilla had her eye on Mike Stone, and she made a beeline and chatted up Mike Stone, the karate champion. So when he says, I missed it when the marriage was over, the marriage was like tiny. Many people feel that they were married from age 14, Priscilla, till they divorced in 1973. It's just bullshit. The truth is, Elvis didn't really properly get with Priscilla until 1966 because he lived as a single man until then. And then when he did commit to her under pressure, because Elvis wasn't ready to get married, when he did finally commit to the marriage, she's unfaithful. She's unfaithful. So, and just after Lisa Marie was born. So that whole section, guys, it gets a from me.
We could live at Graceland.
It's funny, when I first moved into Graceland, my room was upstairs, you know, and then Elvis decided he needed a bigger closet. So I moved downstairs and they knocked the wall out and took my bedroom and made a closet out of it. And it was a regular sized bedroom. It was just he needed that bigger closet. Then I moved downstairs into a room next to where the 3 TVs are in the wall. And I lived down there for years. And then the last couple of years Elvis was alive, I lived in a garage apartment. And it's kind of like I had my own living room out there and my own huge bedroom. and I could bring my friends in to visit with me without taking them inside Graceland. But Graceland is just the greatest memories in the world, man. That's where we played. We planned things. Got ready to go to Hollywood. Came back from Hollywood. There's so many memories there.
You were in many of Elvis's movies, and I remember a part you played in the movie Charo.
We were on location in Arizona, and Elvis was he was looking forward to doing a Western, you know, to where he was in the picture. He's like a gunslinger, a Charo, and then we got there and the script started changing because Elvis said it was about the time that they started talking about all the violence on television and in movies and everything. So Elvis, he said, well, the gunfights are turning into dirty looks, you know, and he went over to Charles Marcus Warren, who wrote the script for that movie and was the director. And he said, what's wrong, Mr. Warren? And he said, Elvis said, they called me 3 weeks ago and said, we're doing an Elvis Western. They didn't say we're doing an Elvis movie and it's a Western. We're doing an Elvis Western. And said, and I had to write this thing in 3 weeks. And he looked at Mr. Warren. He said, Mr. Warren, let's do our job, take the money, and run. I was walking around on the set of Clambake one day, and we'd been having a water battle. You know, we had water guns, and then that wasn't enough. We'd get a glass of water, and sometimes take shaving cream, put a head on it, you know, to have our water battles. And then it got into buckets of water. And I was standing around the edge of Elvis's trailer waiting for him to come out. And one of the guys had climbed all the way to the top of that studio, one of those catwalks, and a bucket of water hit me right in the head, you know. And I looked up, and the second bucket got me right in the face. You know, my shirt was just drenched. So I went over to the wardrobe and got me a dry shirt. And then I went over and put it in one of those big blowers they have on the set to keep the air circulating. I hung it up in front of it, you know, to dry. And about every 20 minutes or so, I'd go back over and feel it, and it's still raining wet, you know. And I'm telling you, this went on all day. Every 20 minutes or so, we went out, we broke for lunch. It was gone an hour. I come back, and it was still wet. So one time, I went around there and felt it was still wet, and so I walked around the edge of the trailer, and I turned and sneaked back and looked around, and Elvis had a fire extinguisher and was getting it all wet again. He'd been doing that all day long. We was doing a picture of the Trouble with Girls. There's one of those pictures where we were having water battles, you know, and firecrackers would light around each other and just, you know, just things to do when they were.
Right, guys, obviously I've just mentioned Billy because I'm very proud that Billy Stanley messaged us. He said that he does watch our show. He also said, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. So I'll quickly show you it. I'm going to have to lose my place on the, let me just check on the document. We're 24 minutes in. So let me just find, so he accepted my friend's request. Let's have a look. Let's find it. Now, I'm still learning about Billy Stanley. Don't know much about him. So this is, let's have a look. See if it's going to focus. So this is Billy Stanley. So he says, thank you. I've said to him, thank you so much from me and Team Elvis, defending Elvis Presley. We're proud of you. After watching Joe's interview on Rare Elvis Photos. And then he says, I've seen a couple of your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for your kind words. So he basically, it's a very short message. He basically says he has watched us. Keep up the good work. That's as good as it gets. And he's accepted my friend's request. So Billy, if you ever watch us, I'm still learning about Billy. I want to do a complete separate show about Billy Stanley and his brothers. I don't want to do it on this show because I think this show is for this Charlie Hodge documentary, but I'm going to learn about Billy. Right, let's go back to the documentary. So yeah, proud. And obviously we're proud that Joe Sins at Rare Elvis Photos gave us a big shout out yesterday. It's got to be a good thing, guys. Got to be a good thing. Let me just see if I can find that. I'm obviously quite proud of it. Let's just see if I might have deleted it. I might have. Oh, there we go.
Lewis, defending Elvis, is doing a great job.
Right, here we are, guys.
I want to give a shout out to Lewis. Defending Elvis is doing a great job over there. I know that not everybody's a fan of Lewis, and not everybody's a fan of me. I think that's very important for all of us. You know, to take what you like and leave the rest. You know, that's a saying that a friend of mine, Garrett, has said many, many times. You know, first off, you can't like everything about everybody or everything about every subject. I hope y'all love Elvis, first off, and understand that there are people that were in Elvis's life that weren't good for him, that didn't defend Elvis, that continue to make a lot of money off of him. And Lisa. And I think that's Lewis's main goal over at defending Elvis. And for me, it has certainly been something I've talked about a lot.
So, yeah, so obviously, of course, I like it when I get support, especially from a massive channel like Rare Elvis Photos. Obviously, he also runs another channel, Elvis and the Legends. And, you know, I think what he's trying to say when he says, oh, not everyone agrees with what Louis says, I think what he's saying is that, yes, but Louis defends Elvis. Louis defends Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. So whether you agree with him or not, my core is defending Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. So that should be the standout thing. We defend, yeah? If you don't agree with my views, if some people don't agree with all of my opinions, that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But ultimately, we defend. And I think he's also saying there's many other channels out there that don't defend. He's saying there's many other Elvis channels that are making a lot of money on their channels and they're not defending Elvis. So I think what he's saying is, you know, Joe at Rare Elvis Photos defends Elvis. Louis at Defending Elvis defends Elvis. So whatever people say about me or Joe, we defend Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. So I get it. I get what he's trying to say. Yeah, there we are. Nancy gets it. Nancy, you know that I find it hard to tie my words together. Nancy, welcome. So ultimately, we're here to defend Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. So we're not here to win every popularity contest because people aren't going to agree with everything we do. But I think we come from a good place. I really do. So Nancy, you've just joined us. We are reviewing Charlie Hodge's documentary. We're about 25 minutes into it. Let me just go back onto it. Obviously, we keep being distracted because we are... here we go. I think this is it. Right, let's go back to where we were. Now, one of the things I will say this, I have been disappointed by Charlie's views on Priscilla and the marriage. I think we all were, but let's keep going.
And he's been shooting those firecrackers. We got him this time. Well, Elvis sent us guys to grocery stores, and we went and bought whipped cream. We must have had 20 cans of whipped cream. So we went over to this little pub, and we came in from both doors. And Bill looked, and there was nowhere to go. We were coming in the only exits, you know. And he's over in the corner like that, and Elvis and them just took whipped cream and just buried him in the corner with whipped cream there, man. And then we just left. But it was all in fun. It was all in fun. Elvis loved the islands. Hawaii was one of his favorite places to go. We went there several times over the years. And he used to love to stay at the Cocoa Palms Hotel because that's where he'd stay when he did the film Blue Hawaii. He loved the Hawaiian ceremonies at dinner time. To announce dinner, the hotel set signal fires among the trees. And also, while I was there, the Navy always put their admiral's barge at his disposal. What not many people knew is that Elvis had given a special concert to help pay for the Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor. Just beneath the memorial is the sunken battleship. Whenever he went to Hawaii, he liked to take people out to visit the memorial. Elvis was resting in his dressing room right after the Aloha from Hawaii television special, which, by the way, was seen by 2 billion people around the world. One of the guys came in and said there was someone to see Elvis, and it was Jack Lord. Well, now, Hawaii Five-0 and Jack Lord, Elvis watched them every time they were on, so that was one of his favorites. So Jack came back there, and man, it was just like instant friendship, you know? And Jack
Hawaii Five-0.
He said, I don't think I've ever heard such dramatic music in my life. And Elvis said, Charlie, get this man a seat. We don't want to lose him, you know. And then the next week, Jack and Marie, his wife, invited Elvis and all those guys over for dinner at their apartment. You know, once Linda Lee had come up to see Elvis at his suite there, her dad was doing a recording session one time, and he needed a tenor singer. And she said, well, Charlie Hodge works for Elvis, and he used to be with Fog River Boys. So Wakely had me come over and do a recording with him, you know, doing some vocal backup with this quartet he had. And then George Ritchie, who's married to Tammy Wynette now, George came because he was my piano player when I went in the Army with the Fog River Boys. And George came to me about reorganizing the Foggies, and I was getting kind of tired of sitting around movie sets, so I talked to Elvis about me going on the road with the quartet and working some in Nevada. And he said, well, go ahead, you know, just come back in and help me do the sessions and everything. When you're not working, you come back here as home. Okay. So I had the quartet there, and then the quartet broke up, and I stayed with Wakely up to 1966, working along with Louis Prima, Sam Butera and the Witnesses, Harry James, you know, the orchestra. Harry James was my keynote playing buddy. And just a lot of stars I was working with there in Nevada, and kind of learning, I guess, what I needed to know to lay out a show for Elvis. Because in 1966, I decided I really didn't have any time that I was given to Charlie Hodge. Because it was either working with Wakely and doing shows or coming in and doing something with Elvis, and I had no time for me. So I decided I'd leave the Wakely show and just work for Elvis. And at that time, we weren't touring, see, we were just doing the, you know, movies and things like that. So I came back, and then they started this thing of getting ready for the 68 comeback. And Elvis talked to me, and he said, you know, Charlie, I'm a little worried because I've done all these movies and everything, and said I've forgotten everything, and I think I may have lost it. And I said, well, no, you hadn't. I said, it's just a matter of working on it again. And Elvis and I started working on his voice. The guys would go to sleep maybe 1:30 in the morning, and Elvis and I would start, and 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, we'd still be sitting around the piano, just working on his voice control, his placement, and getting his projection going good, and then, you know, just learn to support his tones real good. And then we did the 68 comeback, and then they started talking about going to Nevada and working there. Well,
so I really like that. He basically coached Elvis with his voice on the 68 comeback special, and as he says, in Nevada as they go off to do the Vegas stuff. So Joe was a massive help to Elvis. So I just had a couple of comments here. This is from Joanne. I don't think is this the same Joanne? Is this you? There's 2 comments. I had the great pleasure of meeting Charlie in Leicester. He was a beautiful person and my favorite. Unfortunately, when it came to Priscilla, he wore blinkers. I think we agree with that. Joanne, is this you on this comment? And then I love these vintage retro shows. This is Don Lane show, the 1982 pre-opening of Graceland. Fascinating to see it before it was open to the public. You can't believe how Elvis cars and costumes were out in the open. The 10 Outstanding Young Men award obviously meant a great deal to him, as you can tell by its condition that he carried around. He did carry it around, because we did a little video. I posted it yesterday on the JC Awards. I've actually got the whole of the JC Awards. It's about nearly an hour long. I only posted the section that's got Elvis in it, but I am going to post the whole thing. So then you've got, it says here, Sun Studio signs is a different now, and so it is wall decor in the reception area, but the actual studio is pretty much the same. It still has the wall tiles that were there when Elvis. You could still make a recording to take home, and I recorded That's All Right and Mama in the control room. I don't listen to it as I can't stand the sound of my own voice, but I had to do it. So I don't think that's the same. Joe, that's not you on these comments, is it? So I'm just checking the comments, guys. Yeah. Anyway, guys, well, I've got to quickly go, and we're going to do a part 2. I'm not going to be long. I'm going to go and come back. So I'm going to have to quickly shoot off. So this is part 1. We're going to come back soon and do part 2, hopefully really quickly. I won't be long, 20 minutes, come back, do a part 2. So I'll be back in a minute, guys. You take care. We're going to come back to part 2 in about 20 minutes. Take care, guys.